Right. Let's come to the next talk, which which topic gained a lot of popularity and was very famous in the last few years due to some major incidents that happened. Buzzwords are Mirai and Torii. Let's give a warm applause to Anna and Vladislav for their talk, the evolution of IoT botnets.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Welcome to our talk. Thank you for coming. The talk is Evolution of IoT Botnets, including Torii and Smart Home Hack. And before we get started, let me introduce who we are. I'm Anna. I'm a security researcher at Avast. My current topic of interest is IoT malware and botnets.
And I'm Vladislav Ilyushin, and I do IoT threat research, which is why I'm here.
Right. So today we are going to talk about three main things. And the first, we will do some retrospective. Then we will present you a case study of botnet, IoT botnet called Torii. And at the end, we will show you some hacking. So according to Juniper Research, we are going to have around 38 billion connected devices by 2020. This is a really big number and really hard to understand. And let me take you back in 2006, where here you can see the heat map of the internet, and the blue dots represent the utilization of IP addresses, and it means the low one. And the black is devices are not connected. As you can see, there are lots of black spots and not that many red ones, which means the 100% utilization. And let me fast forward to 2018, where you can see that the picture changed significantly, and there are lots of connected devices right now, and not that many black spots. So we managed to utilize almost all IPv4 addresses. And if you were ever wondering how the IPv6 utilization looked like, that's how it looks like. And this is the future for all of that smart devices, kettles, and some coffee machines out there. But this is the future. And what is out there right now? I guess everybody knows what is Shodan. Shodan?
Who knows Shodan?
Yay! Yay!
Okay, we're at security conference.
Right. So Shodan, basically like Google for searching connected devices, and you can search pictures there, and it's fairly easy. So for example, you just you search some pictures and you get some pictures of poorly secured cameras out there. And there's someone's backyard, and I don't know, nice sea view. Great. Someone's home. Okay, but can we search for something else, something more interesting? How about gas stations? There are thousands of gas stations in the US exposed to the internet right now, and anyone can connect to it. Just simply telnet to the IP of the gas station with port 1001. Run one of the hundreds commands available, and theoretically, you can even disrupt the operation of the gas station. Okay, that was the example of the industrial IoT, but does the consumer IoT do better? Do we have something better there? And in 2016, we got Mirai. And the DDoS attack from Mirai was so big that I think the attackers, the creators, got scared and just released the source code because they were maybe afraid that law enforcement would get after them. And they were hoping that, oh, well, others would start to copying the code and that kind of get attention out of them. But they got caught anyway. However, the damage was done already, and the source code was out there.
Yes, so they released the source code. Any script kiddie can now download it and compile their own version. And it is very easy. And to show how easy it actually is, we prepared you a tutorial how to compile your own Mirai version under 1 minute and 20 seconds. I have Ubuntu machine there, and I already downloaded the source code of Mirai, and I'm just going to change one module called scanner. This module is responsible for doing dictionary attack on potential vulnerable targets of Mirai. So once Mirai detects open port for telnet, it tries to get inside using predefined dictionary. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to change one entity. I'm going to add entity with username superuser and password pass. That's very simple, and maybe it is quite popular combination. I'm going to save this module and compile the source code. As you can see, it takes a few seconds to compile the source code, and if you move to the debug folder, you can see that there are actually 5 binaries of Mirai for different CPU architectures. Now, the last thing for me to do is to actually change and rename the name of Mirai to some new Japanese botnet name. And that's how you compile your own Mirai variant in under 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Right, and because of that, how easy is that? Our media is still bombarded with the headlines like that. Right. There are many Mirai variants out there that you probably heard or seen. They all following the same Japanese name convention. However, they are all copycats of Mirai. But do we have something more sophisticated than Mirai? And yes, we do. And this is the IoT botnet called Torii. This botnet that we analyzed back in 2018, sorry, 2018 in September. And this is the team who was analyzing the Torii at the time.
Yeah. Any of you have ever been at DEF CON? Anybody? Okay, do you know the game Spot the Fed? Well, there is a game Spot the Fed and the DEF CON. And actually, there are 2 of us here, but actually, one of the persons who are also working on the analyzing of Torii malware sits somewhere in this room, so you can play the game Spot Avastian and spot him. So those are the pictures, those are your hints, enjoy the game.
Okay, so let me tell you a story how it all started. In the matter of fact, it all started with a tweet where the famous security researcher, Dr. Veselin Bonchev, and known as Vasen Security, posted a tweet that his telnet honeypots got hit by some unknown malware, not looking like Mirai Monero kind. So, and the link is still active. So we decided to give it a try, and to remind you that installation of the IoT botnets, or copycats of Mirai, looks something like that. There is like architectures that you can loop over, and then with wget command download some binary with Japanese name, and then the binary make it executable on the targeted device, and then it ran basically. However, the execution process for installation process for Torii looks quite different. Even from the first glance, you can see that the script is much longer. So this is the first stage, the shell, which is trying actually to get the binary from the C2. And the script is rather sophisticated. It's also trying to get the binary via HTTP. But if that fails, it's trying to get it via the FTP. And the credentials are nicely provided in the shell script. That was very smart. However, what was not smart, that the attackers forgot to restrict the access to the server. And so we got logs, lots of logs. There were like FTP logs, for example, which gave us the statistics, how many unique devices tried to connect the binary. And as a matter of fact, there was like around 600 of them at that time. we also get an access to the HTTP log, where we saw that some clients tried to download the binary via HTTP and then failed and tried FTP instead. And also, we got some that binary that we actually showed you a few slides before, as well as access logs. And we got access logs for 4 days. And in total, there were 206 unique IP addresses trying to connect to that server. The interesting thing is that one IP tried to connect over 1 million times. And so when we analyzed logs, we saw that that was someone who was running Dewbuster, and it's just a basic brute forcing tool.
So if you ever try to analyze new strain of malware, instead of using Dewbuster and brute force approach, maybe there is a better way to analyze something. So the first stage, the script itself, tries to download the second stage on the device, right? And let's take a closer look at the second stage of the Torii malware. First of all, a quite interesting thing is that all strings in the binaries are obfuscated by XOR, and they're obfuscated during runtime when the string is needed. Now, second stage consists of 2 binaries. First, there's an extractor, which extracts the third stage, which is inside the second stage, and it then tries to actually run it. So, first thing, second stage tries to unpack the third stage, right? And it installs the third stage in pseudo-random location. And those locations are predefined in the binary of second stage, and there are quite a few interesting examples like /user/bin or /temp. Then once this location is determined, then it uses one of pseudo-random names for the file name of the third stage. And some interesting examples are, for example, IFTPD or NATD. So if you actually search for all files on your IoT device, you won't find the file with Torii payload.arm. You find something that looks like system Linux daemon. Well, once Torii decides where to put the third stage, it runs the script to ensure third stage persistent. And it is quite interesting because there are, in total, there are 6 ways that Torii can use to gain persistence, including creating new cron jobs or injecting the code for bash rc, right? But instead of just choosing randomly which way of persistence Torii is going to use, it executes all of them. So it runs all 6 ways of gaining precision on the device. So the moral of the story, once Torii is inside your device, it really wants to stay there. Now, after running all the scripts to ensure persistence of the third stage, it finally executes it. So let's move to the third stage. And there are quite a few interesting things. First of all, Torii uses some anti-debugging methods. And I have to say, if you compare it to the Windows malware, they are not very sophisticated. But if you compare Torii to Mirai and all Mirai variants, it is quite an upgrade. First of all, after starting the third stage, Torii sleeps for 60 seconds, which is quite a nice way to avoid very simple sandboxing. Then it tries to randomize the process name. So when you do ps grep Torii, you will not find any processes, but instead it tries to randomize, like Torii tries to generate very random string, and it will basically generate gibberish. And finally, all newer versions of the binaries are stripped, which is quite interesting because when we started working on the analysis of Torii, we got the binaries with quite a lot of strings inside them. But on the second day, the one day after we start the analysis, our Yara scanner got hit by the exact same set of binaries, but with no strings inside. Now, third stage, once it's running, it's to communicate with C2, it uses multi-level encryption of communication.
And all of the communication with command and control server goes via TCP port 443. However, this is not an HTTPS and not TLS. Rather, this is the deception because it's just trying to pretend being HTTPS to avoid IDSs or deep packet inspections or like analysts in general, because we all know that to analyze HTTPS traffic is hard. And all of their communication with C2 encrypted and XORed.
So yes, so all the communication is encrypted, XORed and encrypted, which is nice. And then Torii, once started, and it waits for 60 seconds, it sends quite a lot of data to the Torii backend. It does data exfiltration. And there is quite a lot of interesting things that Torii actually sends. There is information about the host name, the process ID, the list of all MAC addresses present on the device, and there is actually information about memory, CPU, and partitions, which is quite a lot of information, and this information can be quite useful for malware authors, and we can get to this point back later.
So as Vlad said, that there are lots of information could be extracted, and to do so, there is an implementation of, sorry? There is an,
this is,
yeah, there is lots of commands implemented, and you can divide the commands from like inbound from the command and control to the bot, and outbound from the bot to the command and control server. And the bot is able to do lots of file manipulations, and it's able to check if the file exists, so it can get to the etc/password and read the file and send some information to the C2. And if the respective command comes, it can also delete the file.
yes. And final thing, yes, there are a few other interesting features in this malware strain is that Torii can receive the timeout of C2 polling time, which means that by default, let's say Torii communicates with C2 and tries to get new commands every 5 minutes, right? But in the future, malware authors can send the command, hey, please communicate with me every 1 hour, or every day, or every week. So it can be quite stealthy on the network level. And finally, this is the reason why Torii is considered current gen. It can actually execute any given command and send the output back to C2, which is quite nice. Imagine having thousands and thousands of shells. You run one command and you get output from all of them, which is quite good for malware authors and not quite good for normal people.
So Torii has, this is the slide with all of the command and control servers that we were able to find. And we did some digging on the IP addresses and found out that one of the domain was resolved to the Torii C2 back in 2017. So we believe that Torii operates at least from 2017. It always has 3 domains to connect to. The reason why is it's sort of like a backup. So it tries one domain. If the connection fails, it tries another one. If that fails, it always tries the third one. And that all 3 attempts fails, it is trying to resolve the command and control server domain via the Google 888 DNS, basically.
Now, to summarize, Torii is persistent. It is quite nice to have 6 different ways of persistence, right? Once in the device, Torii really wants to stay there. It is quite stealthy. First of all, as Anna mentioned, it masquerades all the traffic and communication to C2 and uses port 443. And finally, it is quite modular because ability to download and store any given file and execute any arbitrary command is basically an open book. And if you combine this with the fact that Torii authors have the knowledge of the CPU, memory, partition, and bandwidth on their backends, they can create such scenarios where, for example, on the IoT devices with quite a lot of CPU power, they're going to mine Monero. And on the devices with quite a lot of bandwidth, they can run DDoS module and actually use it to sell for highest bidder. So if you're interested in learning more about Torii and all the ICs, SS hashes, and domains, you can scan this QR code and it will lead you to the full blog post. Now, before any malware, there is always a POC, right? Basically, how we automate things. We write quick POC, we see if that works, and then we try to automate every step of the process. And to show you the few, because we are IoT threat researchers and our job at Avast is to be one step ahead of the bad guys, we decided to create a demo and see where this IoT malware could lead us in a few years. That's why we created a short demo, during which I will not be working for Avast for next 15 minutes. I'm going to play the role of a hacker. And let's pretend I'm a hacker sitting somewhere in a coffee shop and I'm looking for an easy target, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Shodan to search for something interesting to hack, right? And while I'm searching on Shodan, for the purpose of this demo, we actually brought the target smart home with us, which is right there. And you can see all the smart devices which we are going to hack. So I search for devices on Shodan, right? And I see there's some buildings, but this picture of living room looks quite nice because it has very nice smart TV. It has quite a few devices. So let's take a closer look. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run nmap and see what ports are open on the public IP of that smart home, right? What services are running. And there are actually 2 ports open, which is quite nice. So disclaimer, I'm a very lazy hacker. So instead of doing something sophisticated like running Deerbuster, I'm going to actually open the IP address with the port number in the browser. And hey, I'm inside. I'm inside this camera. You know the reason why? Well, apparently the manual for this camera is 186 pages long. And the instructions on how to change default credentials are on the page 93. How many of you would read this manual? Exactly. So at this point, I'm inside the camera. I have unrestricted access to the video stream. And because I'm a very bad hacker, I'm going to make that camera dance, as you can see right there. But I'm going to do much worse things now. So let's move to the settings menu. And you can see a lot of options there. And I love options. So let's change a few things. First of all, let's move to the motion detection settings of the camera and set up it that way that every time there is a loud sound or a motion detected by that IP camera over there, the clip of that happening would be uploaded to my own FTP server. We are going to get to this part back later. Now, because I like having root on the device, I'm going to do command injection to start Telnet Diamond, which was really provided in the firmware of that IP camera. I'm going to start the Telnet Diamond, and because I'm really lazy, I'm going to change a few things. First of all, after starting Telnet Diamond, I need to somehow make change the router settings to do the port forwarding, right? So every time there is something coming on the router with port number 23, it will be forwarded to the IP address of the camera. Any of you heard of UPnP? Okay. So apparently there is a binary called UPnP static in the IP camera over there, and you can ask this binary, you can run this binary to actually set up the port forwarding, because this binary will get the request, please forward port 23. It will generate UPnP request, set it to the router will listen, and this will set up the port forwarding rules for me. And lastly, because I'm really, really lazy and this is a technical conference, I'm just going to make this IP camera be transparent proxy. So I will be basically inside this local network. Now, after all the changes, last thing to do is to actually try if everything works. So let's just try to telnet to the IP address of this smart home, and hey, I'm inside. This was very easy. Any script kiddie can do this. And at this point, I'm not in the coffee shop anymore. I'm actually inside this IP camera, inside their smart home network, inside their living room, living their lives with them. Now, once inside the local network, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run nmap. I'm going to run nmap and see what other devices are available for me to hack, right? And you can see that there are 14 devices, which is quite a lot, who have more than 5 devices, smart devices at their local network. Okay, more than 10. Okay, I see you. You have to give me your IP address after the presentation. So I'm just going to pick one device, and let's play with smart lights. Any of you have smart lights at home? You? Okay, quite a few. For technical conference, you don't like IoT very much. Now, there are a few commands available. First of all, there is a command to actually turn the light bulbs on and off, and you can change the color. There is no authentication, authorization. So any device on the network can ask for light bulbs to turn on and off. So let's do just that. Let's blink a little bit. I'm very sorry for the strobe in your face. Do you like it? Yeah, of course. Imagine having the house full of those lights. It's not a very good experience. Now, I'm not done with lights. I already played. Oh, this is RGB party. So let's do RGB party now. Is it better? Yeah. It's quite annoying, right? Yes. So I'm not done with those slides. There's apparently another command available. And this is a command called getSysInfo. What would you expect this command to return? MAC addresses, hashes, system IDs, state of the light, and maybe the color. All things are there. But the thing is that this light bulb returns latitude and longitude. Thing is, when you pair the light bulbs with your companion app on your phone, companion app will ask physical GPS location of your phone and will store them on the light bulbs. This is not very straightforward thing to do. But anyway, at this point, I actually know where this house, this smart house, is physically located, which is nice. Now, let's move to the next device. Apparently, there are smart speakers in the house. Any of you have Sonos? Anybody? Okay, a few. Oh, that's nice. Nice, nice. So I'm going to run nmap scan against the IP address of the Sonos to see what services are running, and there are quite a few. First of all, let's start with UPnP. Any of you heard of UPnP? Any of you heard of UPnP SSDP and UPnP DLNA extensions? So this is basically extensions of UPnP, and you can create AV transport command to any device that supports those extensions, and basically you can play any audio you want. So let's invite owners of this house to the party. I really like this speaker. Now, let's move on. There are a few other ports open. So again, I'm very lazy hacker. Let's just open the IP address of the Sonos with the port number in the browser. And I got error 43 forbidden. I'm sorry, guys. Apparently, I'm very bad hacker, and guys at Sonos are good at security. Or are they? What if we append /status to the URL? And hey, we got a lot more options, and I like options. So let's move to the accounts menu. You can see that there are some IDs and some hashes, but let me zoom in. Meet the owners of the house, Whitney and Joe Black. Thing is, on the older Sonoses, when you pair Spotify account with Sonos, it will store your Spotify name inside. So at this point, I have unoptimized software for some reason. Anyway, I know the names, and I can leverage that information. You see, I can craft text-to-speech messages, and I already know the names of the owners. So let's try to do audio ransomware.
Hey, Whitney.
It's been a long time. I own your smart house.
I am in charge now. Be so kind.
And pay me 1 Bitcoin.
Well, I have a confession to make. When I prepared this message, Bitcoin was worth something. So 1 Bitcoin is not enough.
You know,
1 Bitcoin is not enough.
The price is
2
Bitcoins from now on.
2
Bitcoins from now on.
2.
Bitcoins from now on.
Now, keep in mind that in the real world, this message would be quite longer. I would include short link to the instructions how to actually pay me, but you get the idea. So, smart speakers, great devices, but some can give away your name. Now, let's move to the next device. There is Alexa. Any of you own smart assistants? No? Okay, a few, just a few. Okay, so I like Alexa because she doesn't distinguish between your voice and my voice, right? And you probably want to see some very sophisticated hack of Alexa. But the thing is, I'm a very lazy hacker. I already have access to Sonos. So I'm just going to play commands to Alexa and will ask her nicely. Now, any of you here have Amazon Prime? Okay. One day, a free 2-day delivery, grand tour, very nice. So let's try to max out the cards of Whitney and Joe family.
Hey Alexa,
Add Tesla Model 3 to my shopping list.
That's not nice. Let's try again.
hey Alexa,
Add Tesla Model 3 to my shopping list.
You can do this.
Tesla Model 3 added to your shopping list.
So just in a few days, Whitney and Joe will receive something on their doorstep. Now, Alexa, very nice speaker, but will listen to anyone, especially to me in this case. Now,
Sorry, I'm not sure.
and apparently she's not sure sometimes. Now, at this point, just to summarize, I have unrestricted access to the video stream coming from the IP camera over there. I know the names of the owners and I have physical location of the house. So I think it is time to actually pay Whitney and Joe a visit. And to do that, there are actually 2 steps required. First of all, Whitney and Joe love security and they want their house to be secure, they want their lives to be secure. Any of you can relate to that on the security conference? Okay, so Troopers is not full of sociopaths? Okay, that's fine. So they have smart home security system with all kinds of sensors, a camera and a motion sensor. And I'm going to alarm it. You can see that lid is open and this specific home alarm has 30 seconds of grace period. So about in 25 seconds, the alarm will go off. And now we have a challenge to disable it, right? Thing is, Whitney and Joe love convenience, so they pair their smart home security system with Alexa. So let's ask Alexa nicely to disable the alarm for us.
hey Alexa, ask Sophie to disarm the alarm.
Passcode needed for this action. What is your passcode?
1, 2, 3, 4.
You have disarmed the alarm.
So the truth is, it took me 30 minutes to find how to change the default passcode in the companion application of that smart home security system. So it is pretty safe to say that average user is not going to do that. Now, the last step, I disabled the security system. And apparently Whitney and Joe have very smart door because they have smart lock, which is HomeKit enabled, and it is part of the iPad over there. And the thing about iPad and Siri is that Siri can distinguish between your voice and my voice, right? I cannot just say, hey Siri, to activate all your phones and all your iPhones, right? But remember, at the very beginning, I said that every time there is a motion or a sound, the IP camera is going to send the clip of that happening to my own FTP server. Well, at this point, I have hours and hours of footage coming from that living room. And I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to use machine learning and speech recognition to search for very specific key phrase, hey Siri. I'm going to use that audio clip of that phrase, and I'm going to use it to trigger Siri. And interesting thing about this assistant is that anything you say, anybody says after hey Siri trigger word will be processed, and anybody can talk to Siri. So let's try to unlock the door.
Hey Siri,
Unlock the door, please.
I'm on it. Your Dana lock is unlocked.
Wow, it works. So as you can see, the doors are open, the doors are unlocked. Unfortunately, I'm not going to fit through those, but you get the idea. And if you remember, after his Siri, there was actually a man's voice, and it clearly was not Whitney's voice. So this is actually a paradox of security in this case, because Whitney and Joe purchased smart home security system and smart lock to make their home safe, to make their life safe. But actually, it made me easy, like it made easier for me to get inside and compromise all of those devices. And the thing is, like in this case, that if not for that IP camera over there, nothing of that would be possible. Because if not for that IP camera, I would not be able to get inside the network and compromise all of those devices. Because, let's be frank, UPnP protocol and everything else that I show you are common protocols that rely on security of your local network. So the point of this demo was that like this home or your home is as strongly secured as the biggest device. If you have one vulnerable camera, all it takes to actually get inside your network and do all other kinds of stuff. So thank you very much.